because when I was told this story, I was like, other than on TV or on radio or on a podcast, Jemele Hill will never hear my voice again. I don't trust her. She's a snake.
Stephen A. was correct. When the Undefeated started, he reached out to a bunch of us to see if we wanted to work, with the Undefeated. He and I have a particular, we were at one point, I would have considered us to be friends, and that dissolved for a number of reasons, some of which I don't necessarily feel like I want to dig up the bones on, but, only to a certain degree to make my point. But by that time, we were not even, wouldn't even acknowledge each other probably in the same room on that level. And he reached out to me. He apologized and said that it was a bad look to have two Black people in our position to be beefing, and that he would like me to do some work with the Undefeated. Now, I thought that it was such a terrible idea for Skipper and to hire him to do this. I don't know why he did. And I told Skipper that. I mean, I told him that at the time that, this was not.
We've learned it's Dan's fault, Jemele. We've learned today it's Dan's fault.
Wait. I found that out later, and I almost started to be like, Dan,
us
dude,
too.
What would make you think this was a good idea?
God damn it, Dan.
This is what happened. Jemele, this is what happened. It wasn't just me. It was me and Simmons, right? It's Whitlock.
I know. I heard that.
And Bill Simmons.
Yeah, Whitlock asked us to make a call vouching for him as a journalist, and we did. And I made not the joke, but I just said earlier in the show, how's that for privilege? How does the Black guy get power? It's the Black guy who's against all the other Black people, chosen by the two white guys and the Cuban guy.
That is my main question to you, Dan. Did you ask any Black people about
I did. Well, but no, but I no.
Wow. This is the first time I watched that Jemele clip in real time. I had not seen this. I did not know she said this. Before I get to Jemele, I just want to. Whitlock asked us to make a call. This is according to Dan. And Dan Le Batard at this time, 2013. At that time, best friend in the industry. So when John Skipper reached out to me, of course I would, hey, Dan, John Skipper reached out to me, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? This, that, and the third. Dan volunteered. I didn't ask. Dan, hey, I'm tight with Skipper. Let me call him. I will vouch for you. I think it's a great idea. But again, he uses the word us intentionally because he's now roping Bill Simmons into this. I did not call Bill Simmons and ask him to do anything as it related to me and the Undefeated. Nothing. Went on his podcast and talked about it, but asking Bill Simmons to do anything, no, did not happen. It's a complete lie. Didn't ask Dan. He volunteered because he wanted me to get that job. Dan had no illusions at that time about my relationship with anybody in the media. From Jemele Hill to Mike Lupica to Mitch, everybody knows my entire reputation throughout my entire career from 94, but it actually started in 92 in Ann Arbor because that's when I started criticizing Mitch Albom. It's always been my brand to criticize the media. Always. Long before Trump. Dan knew all of this. Everybody knew all this. I was always a polarizing figure in the media among Black and white journalists. I got stalked. Jeff Pearlman. I hate to even call his name, but again, he used to work for Sports Illustrated. He's been a stalker of mine for years. White dude. They're lying. Now, Jemele Hill. First I heard it. Complete, total, 1,000% fabrication. Reached out to her to apologize. Are you kidding me? You know how long I've been telling the story publicly about what happened between me and Jemele Hill, it's probably been 10 years, maybe 15. She even said we wouldn't even acknowledge each other because I would not acknowledge her. She would try to engage with me, but I would not. And she's right. Used to be friendly. When she first I was very supportive when she first got into column writing down in Orlando. Trying to help her out, trying to give her guidance. And then when the 2007 situation happened and I got on Oprah Winfrey, Jemele Hill melted down. I've told the story a million times. Called the guy, Jason McIntyre at the Big Lead, emailing him, trying to get him to write trash on me because, say, Whitlock out here pretending like he's the moral authority of black. This is in 2007. I just make sure y'all keep the date. He's trying to like he's the moral authority on black people, criticizing us when, he's running around screwing strippers. And again, I've told the story. She was out to dinner with a friend of mine, Terrence Harris, and I believe Leon Carter was there as well. And Terrence Harris, for a friend of mine, stupid reasons, telling my business. I talked to him earlier that day. I was down in Atlanta, and being the idiot I was in 2007, I was bragging to him about some stripper that I'd met in Atlanta, went out drinking and partying with, bragging to him about it. He goes and tells her. She thinks, I'm going to go tell the Big Lead and get him to write about it. Jason McIntyre at that time, and we were free, and he told me. And I've never spoken to Jemele Hill since, and I certainly, in no way, called her to apologize. Because when I was told this story, I was like, other than on TV or on radio or on a podcast, Jemele Hill will never hear my voice again. I don't trust her. She's a snake. But for reasons I don't want to go into, I'm not going to dig into it. I'm not going to go into it. These people are so comfortable lying. It's embarrassing. And that's why I keep my distance. Because the truth ain't in them. I don't know how many receipts I got. Stephen A. Smith, Whitlock wrote me an email begging for me to work for him and all this other stuff. I showed y'all the email. The truth ain't in them. And that's why they want to avoid the level of fraudulence I've exposed about Stephen A. Smith. Because they're just like him. And if he can get away with all them lies, they're hoping they can get away with half as many. Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.